yes, dear. Okay, honey. Too many men have to say these words throughout the day, throughout their lives, to keep the peace in their own homes. No matter what they actually think or how they actually feel. Because happy wife, happy life, it's not really a happy life, is it? But you do it anyway because you have the children, because you made a promise. You'd walk away if you weren't going to lose half your stuff and your kids. We talk about men going their own way. We talk about men stopping dating, that sort of a thing. But what about the men who are already there? That their experience is a giant red flag to a lot of the younger men. And I think that's another reason why they're saying no to marriage, relationships, dating. If the women even look at them. So today, we're going to take a look at Mr. Nicholas J. Fuentes and his explanation of what men are dealing with, what it's like. It's enlightening for me because I'm not a man. And as we know, he is not yet married and seems hesitant to do so. And I think we all get it. I think we do. Because what is there to look forward to? Where are the wives? He doesn't want to say, yes, dear, and okay, honey, his whole life, do ridiculous things and spending his money. Anyway, welcome back to Far From Eden. I just realized it looks like I'm out his window the way I've got the screen set up. Anyways. All right, let's let him cook. Let's let him cook because he keeps doubling down. He just keeps doubling down. And thank God, because the young men especially need someone to tell them. And the older men need the confirmation that the HE double hockey sticks they're living in is not them. It's not.
And a lot of men basically become cucks in their own home. Like they do become emasculated. They gain a lot of weight. They turn into a pussy. Their wife denies them sex. This is the reality for a lot of married men. Don't shoot the messenger again. Maybe not you, but yes, for a lot of men, that is reality. And I think there is this deep dissatisfaction. There's like a deep shame that comes with that. I think a lot of men, that's why a lot of married fathers don't like me, because they go, this little shit, this young man, this young little shit, he doesn't know what the world is really like. My wife won't let me. There's like this seething anger. And when somebody like starts to point that out, it really bothers them. It really touches a nerve. And look, I don't know what to tell you, but
that's why the manosphere touches a nerve for so many people. Because we're telling a lot of truth. I can speak for women that when you first get exposed to red pill, MGTOW, that sort of a thing, it does feel like an attack. Now, don't hate me. I'm just being honest. But the reason it feels that way, the reason it feels so accusatory is because we're guilty. We're guilty of devaluing you. We're guilty of thinking that you are there to do our bidding. It's not even something we think about. It's programmed in, which makes it even worse. And he's talking about what the other side of that is. And my point of view is we, women, need to get over it. We need to face the things that we've been doing wrong. And the way we've been treating you would be number one.
That's just true. It's like it does bother them on a deep level. And all this stuff that these married like males do when they post memes about being a knight I'm going to be a true Christian knight. I'm going to have a manly Catholic retreat where we sing psalms and drink beer. This is all like an impotent protest against their wives. And it's very sad and grim. And look, it's something we have to deal with. Like, this is something that weighs on me. You know that. Like, I don't want to get married because I like being a man. I don't want to get married and have kids because I like the freedom of being a man. I like the freedom and independence. I like being able to take risks and be in a dangerous environment. I like that. I like, being unanswerable and unaccountable to a woman or to
A good wife wouldn't take that away from him. That's why, where are the wives, right? Because a good wife isn't going to take that away from him. The men who do the dangerous jobs, where are they going to be in the next generations if the mothers won't let their little boys get a scrape on their knee, and then the little boy grows up and gets handed over to a woman who treats him the same way? Won't let you take risks, won't let you be a man, won't let you have your own agenda. Your agenda should be your agenda, and she can either come along and support that or not. That's the choice of getting married. It's not to bring him down and rein him in. You're not the boss of him. You're not. And you know what? We don't want to be. Not really. Not really. They need to be able to tell us no. Yes, I use a lot of pronouns because YouTube robots stay happier that way.
family. I like not being domesticated. I like that. I like being able to eat McDonald's all the time and not have to, sit at the dinner table with my hands folded and talk about my daughter who's a cheerleader and what. I like that. And I know that when I get married, there is a trade-off. We could say it's a good trade-off, or it's a necessary trade-off, or it's an inevitable trade-off, but it is a trade-off. And look, it's a big problem that women have all the power. Women can accuse you of abuse. They can divorce you. If they don't want to put out, you're just kind of done. If she just turns into a completely different person once you have kids or once you get married, you're just fucked.
Right, because you can't tell her no, and you can't point that out, because then you're the bad guy. Then you're abusive. So you just have to take it. Who wants to live that way? You just have to take it over and over and over again. Yes, dear. Okay, honey. It's disgusting. We should be ashamed. We should be ashamed. We need to be told no. It's good for us. It really is. And also, I get what he's saying about he doesn't want to sit there with his hands folded and talk about cheerleading. He shouldn't have to. This is the kids' activities. He would be interested in his children, of course. But if he had a good dinner that smelled really good and his wife was very affectionate, he might change his mind about sitting at the table. But with his mindset and the women he's thinking of and the relationship that husbands and wives have today, yeah, who wants to do that? I've been in those households. I've seen the couples when they're, in their houses and nobody is around. And it's partly how it got here, is watching couple after couple after couple all across the country. And I've watched the women rule the roost, and I've seen the husbands just go along to get along and just take it.
And if you protest too much, she will take all your stuff.
Yep.
She will take your kids. She will ruin your life. You will be set back to square one. It's a big problem. And you kind of have a few categories of men. You have men that stand their ground and their wife leaves them and they're screwed. You have men that try to cope or live with it and they're miserable. And then you have men that don't exist now. Then you have some men who, by virtue of luck, really, that they will say they were smart. But look, women change. In this environment, there is a saturation. There is this atmospheric effect. People can say, marry a good woman. And yet many traditional conservative Christian men find themselves in this position. Many women who were traditional Christian women, by virtue of TikTok or their friends or a biological change or a lifestyle change, will go off the reservation. It's because of the society that we live in. And yes, we live in a society. Society affects us. We can't secede from it. We can't retreat from it. We're in it.
Especially women. We are more malleable to outside pressures. And those pressures used to be good pressures coming from our families, whose interest was to keep everybody together, to keep people humble. Not to say, oh, girl, go get yours or whatever, right? You need to have a real life, not just kids, not just family. That is a real life. But we're susceptible to that propaganda, and the propaganda seeps into us, and then we feed it to one another. Exactly what he is saying. I will say it as a woman. Yes, it affects us more. They took something good about women, about wanting to have a cohesive family and community, and they perverted it to where we want to be cohesive with, degenerates on TikTok. People feeding us things like, don't you want to do this? Don't you want to have a real life? Look at these exotic pictures in Greece. How come you never go on a vacation? Sounds a lot like the serpent in a particular garden. How come God doesn't want you to have this? It's so much better. They're lying to you. It's the same thing. History repeats, rhymes, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing new under the sun. And as extreme as this gentleman is, and just because I'm showing his views on women and marriage, etc., does not mean I ascribe to every single thing he says, of course. That would be ridiculous. I don't know that I believe every single thing anybody says. Why would it be him? But he is the one right now who is saying, he's just not holding back. He's not holding back. And if you're triggered, if you're married right now and you are getting a little bit like, oh, why does he? That's because it's difficult to realize the truth. And you probably feel like you did something wrong, you chose wrong, you didn't notice something. But as he's saying, we change because we're influenced by things. How do you think keeping up with the Joneses occurred? Well, what happens when the Joneses are all getting divorced and lying about it and saying how fabulous it is?
We're affected by it, and women are affected by it more than men. And we live in a legal structure. We live in a kind of a culture. It does pose a lot of these issues, and nobody wants to talk about them.
Right.
Because everybody would like to say the thing that we're all supposed to say. Everybody wants to signal that they're doing the thing that we're supposed to do. And what is the thing that we're supposed to do? Get married and have kids. Get trad married with trad kids and be a trad guy. And if anybody has any kind of a problem with that, no matter how legitimate, they get called gay, childless, incel, tiny penis, whatever. But look, that's just true. And Andrew Tate pointed it out. He said, look, you are totally henpecked. You are totally a bitch for your wife. And look, he's polygamous. He has many baby mamas and many kids. I don't condone that. That's not my religion. But he pointed that out. Well, blah, blah. It's just true. And it's a complex problem. We all know it's there. Married men know it. Single men know it. Consciously and unconsciously, people know it. And I don't know how to cope with that. I mean, I feel like the best case scenario, the only way to survive this, look, you have to get married off the books. And, that means either a legal architecture, like a prenup or some kind of contract, or you don't tell the state you're getting married, but that comes with its own problems. Maybe some form of communal living, like you either have an intentional community or, you get a bunch of people together and you all live in one building or you all live in one something. But like there are a lot of social.
Isn't it interesting? They have people like Michael Knowles, Mr. Catholic man, get married. You have to get married in the church because the Bible says you have to have witnesses. Why do you have to? I mean, not in the church, but government. You have to get government married because then you have to government married and in the church because you have to have witnesses. Why do you need to do that? Why does the government have to be your witness? You don't have to invite the government to your wedding. And you don't have to have a wedding. You say your vows. You have your people there. And you have an ironclad contract between the two of you about the way things work. In many different ways, right? To protect you. It also is a really good way to vet her because if she's like, oh my God, well, bye, right? Bye-bye. So isn't it interesting too that this Nick Fuentes is a strict Catholic, very serious about his religion. He's not saying the government needs to, sign off on it. Is he? No, because that's not a thing. Daily Wire. What are you going to do? You gotta love government.
Problems right now. There are a lot of societal problems right now. Male loneliness, no-fault divorce, the current attitudes towards divorce, feminism, they don't go away when you get married. They don't magically disappear the moment you, and by the way, the decision to get married is an interested decision. That is maybe the biggest weakness that men have. So men will say, well, just get married to the right woman. Do you really trust yourself to get married to the right woman? We're also living in a society where marriage is a matter of romance and courtship. There's no economic factor. There's no parental factor. There's no class factor. In the old days, the parents had a considerable say. It was an economic arrangement, a security arrangement. Women had to get married because they needed someone to take care of them. They needed to have kids. Their parents wanted to get rid of them. They needed someone to defend them from men. And men needed women to have kids to, run the farm and what, you know what I'm saying? Now, marriage is like, well, do I like her? Do I like him?
Right. Based on feelings. I can speak for women. We were so much better when we were aware that we need you. We were so much better when we actually did need you directly, rather than, hey, I live in this structure. Hey, there's magic electricity and climate control and appliances and gas in my car and my car. Every single thing is because of a man, because men made it and run it, etc. But for us women, it's so distant. It's like, it's not obvious how much we need you because that space that's been created by industrialization, etc. And don't forget welfare and things like that. But yes, what he's talking about when we knew we needed you for survival and when we brought the value of helping to, like he said, work the farm, because most of society in America was agrarian, up into the 20th century. This is like all brand new. And it's wrong. We are living in an altered universe, to, use a metaphor, because this is all unnatural. And so, and I think men feel it more, when you feel like a foreigner in your own world that you were born in, or you were born in the wrong time, or etc., or there's a matrix, you're right. You're right, because none of this is right. It's all fake. And it's pulled us apart. And it's my contention that that is by design, because those who would rule over us divide and conquer, baby. And the biggest threat to any overlords, whoever's pulling the strings, whoever's benefiting from all of us plebs down here, it's in their interest to destroy the nuclear family. And that's exactly what all this is.
I think I like her. I think I like him. I think I'd like to spend the rest of my, yeah, okay, let's do it. And men are saying, well, just choose the right one. Is a sexual decision like that something you're making in a completely sober state of mind? No. So, you know, we're telling young men, Charlie Kirk and others are saying, get married young, have more kids than you can afford. They're saying, hey,
obviously, this is before the incident. But yeah, that was a big problem that we all had with Charlie Kirk, is because he said, get married. By the way, I read a quote from Mrs. Erica Kirk herself yesterday, and she said it was Charlie Kirk who convinced her to have children, that was more fulfilling than a career. That's right. Interesting. Charlie Kirk had to convince her of that. That's from her own mouth. Why would you need to be convinced of that if you were a traditional woman? That's weird. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And by the way, if you're appreciating this content, I am getting these videos, by the way, of Nick from X. So if you go there, there's a plethora. And, if you appreciate getting to watch him, hit like on this video and go obviously follow him on X, because, you know, you might not agree with everything, but this stuff that he is saying is so important. And we've not been able to hear this. We just hear the Matt Walsh's and the Michael Knowles and the Charlie Kirk's opinion on marriage, and just do it. Just man up. Happy wife, happy life. And you hear that in the Protestant church all day long.
Horny, hormonal teen males make a life-changing permanent decision with women with no legal protections, a decision that you are clearly influenced by other factors outside your control. You're not in the right, not in the right state of mind. Women and men change over time. It's not a hospitable environment for males, not legally or socially. And you have people like me saying, well, let's just tread carefully. In an ideal society, we would get married as teenagers, because that's when we're fertile and that's when we have the least mutational load. And that's when it makes sense. And the male can mold the woman and so on. But we don't live in an ideal society. We don't live in a good society even.
No.
And so you have people that are saying, how do we avoid the fate of Steven Crowder? Now, you have to have kids. You can't let that get in the way. I still am a believer in marriage, because I think it's more important to just have the kids. Your wife might divorce you. It might fuck you up, but, you know, we do need to have kids. But I'm out here saying, look, if a woman is not down with you being a macho man when you are dating, she will run your shit for the rest of your life. And if you try to resist, she will ruin you. And men need to know that.
They do.
Okay?
Yeah.
You can push marriage, fine, but push it responsibly. It is just not responsible in this environment to tell young men, get married, there's no risks.
Right.
Get married young, have more kids than you can afford. You know, that's easy for Tucker Carlson to say. Yeah. That's easy for Charlie Kirk to say. They're rich. They can afford divorce lawyers. You know, they come from a different, at least Tucker comes from a different generation. They have a pedigree. In that kind of high-class situation, it's, you know, maybe it's a different environment. And these are the people telling young men, hey, come on, get married. It's whatever. No, it's not whatever. It's a big problem. And especially it's irresponsible when you tell men to be a simp.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows that when love, like anything else, like any other human affair, is war. It's conflict. It's tension. And if the man isn't being a man, if you don't start on the right foot, you never correct it.
Oh, yeah.
If a man doesn't lay down the law, and look, don't be a freak, don't be a dick. But like, if you are not an independent male, if you don't put a woman in her fucking place when you're dating and after the wedding night, she will run your shit forever. It doesn't reverse. And if it does, it's very difficult. Any married man will tell you, you gotta lay, and I know that just because, look, I just have good instincts. You
just need eyeballs. I mean, it's clear. You have to set the structure in the very beginning, like at the first meeting. You don't warm up to it. You don't romance her into it. Absolutely not. No, you gotta have the respect from the beginning. You're not going to earn her respect as time goes on. You're not going to convince her to respect you. You're not going to treat her in such a way that she thinks a certain way about you. It has to be from the get-go. And yeah, this is going to weed out a lot of women, a lot. And it should. That's a good thing. You want to dodge those bullets like Neo from the Matrix, because most of them are. And again, it's not a guarantee after that. I think the Hillary Crowder thing is an excellent example, because I'm sure in the beginning it was like, oh yeah, traditional, and I'm going to have kids. And yes, you're the head of the household. La, 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 la. Well, clearly changed. It clearly changed. On a related topic, don't proceed with a chick whose father spoiled her. Don't go with daddy's little girl. You want to go with the chick whose father put her in her place, and she loves and respects him for it. That's extremely important.
To establish at the beginning that you're the boss, and if she's not okay with that, then she's not going to be the one. If she's not down with that, that's the bitch who's going to ruin your life and divorce you.
Yep.
And laying down the law means you cannot show weakness. Your wife is not your best friend, because your best friend can't take all your shit. I have best friends. I'm not married to them. They don't have a say over all my stuff and my kids, and they don't have control over my sex life.
Yeah.
If you have a male best friend and you sign a contract and say, hey, my male best friend is entitled to half of my stuff, and my male best friend gets to say if I get to have sex or not, then it's comparable. But it's not when it's your wife. So you can't show weakness to your wife. You can't. Your wife has a dagger pointed at your throat. Is that an unfortunate way to look at it? Yes. Is it true? Yes.
Yeah.
Does it make it adversarial? Unfortunately, yes. But that is the case. A person with a dagger at your throat, you cannot show weakness to them. You cannot show weakness. You cannot give them the impression that they can get their way. You just can't. And that's unfortunately the way it is. So all these people saying that you should be crying with your wife, do not cry in front of your wife. Do not tell your wife your insecurities and vulnerabilities. Do not tell your wife these things. Because look, your wife might be a nice person. Will she be the same person in 10 years? Is anybody? Are women? She might not be the same person after childbirth. She might not be the same person after menopause. She might not be the same person after she stops being able to have kids. She might not be the same person after something happens to her. You can't take a chance. So that's the problem. We change. We change over time. We become different people. In the old days, it wasn't a problem because divorce just wasn't a thing.
Right.
And if it happened, there had to be an extraordinary circumstance. And the women were totally subordinate to men, but it's not like that anymore. And there was also a culture against it. It was dishonorable. It was shameful. No woman wanted to be divorced. Now women encourage each other to get divorced. Social media encourages women to get divorced. Film, television, TikTok encourages women to be promiscuous.
Right.
We're awash with options and FOMO and possibilities. It's not a stable situation.
Right.
Now, some people say that's a good enough reason to not even consider getting married. I'm saying you should get married because that's the only licit way to have sexuality. You should try. But if you're going to get married, you must do it responsibly. And being responsible means you can't let your wife beat you at Mario Kart. You can't let your wife beat you at anything. You can't let your wife beat you in play fighting. You know, one of these guys posting Wife Jack posted how his wife gave him a black eye when they were play fighting. You can't fucking let that happen to you.
What?
It's funny, but it's also deadly serious. Because you know when women say they get the ick? That's fucking real. You know when women say, oh, when he asked for the waiter's attention and the waiter didn't hear him, I got the ick. That's completely real. I don't care how good your woman is. That's completely fucking real. When you slip and fall and hurt yourself, it gives her the ick. Okay? When you cry at your dad's funeral or whatever, it gives her the ick. When you have a mental breakdown or you're not strong or what, you know, you freeze up or you lose an altercation with your neighbor, she gets the ick because women are primal. Women are primal creatures. They're instinctual.
We used to be taught better. We do have those instincts, but we used to be taught better. And it is a terrible thing that a man would not be able to go to his wife with his deepest insecurities and vulnerabilities. But I understand what Nick's saying. It's like you're handing her a bunch of weapons to use later. And if she's, you know, just primal, nothing's been instructed or taught over her primal nature, she's going to get the ick because you're sharing your heart. I absolutely hate the situation for men out there. But I know this to be true with men in my own life, family members, friends, etc., that have had this experience. They've never had someone that they could truly open up to like that. It is a very lonely life being a man. And it is high time that as women acknowledge that and took some responsibility for it, for heaven's sakes.
They're connected to nature. They're in tune to people and socialization more than we are.
Yeah.
And so any subtle things like that, they will pick up on. And if they can manipulate you, they will. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just their nature. That is women's nature. A man's nature is we manipulate things with our physical strength. We manipulate objects in our mind's eye and with our hands. Okay? We're stonemasons. We're architects. Okay? We're schemers. We're dreamers. We're builders of images and concepts and structures, and we're builders in the world. And women manipulate things with emotions and instincts and people and words.
Yeah.
And women are masters of those levers. And in the same way that they could get a baby to stop crying, in the same way that they know just what to say and they resolve conflict and they can seduce a man.
Right. Used to be able to seduce your husband, right? Put a little excitement in there. Let him know he's desired. Quiet the baby. Calm the children. Instruct the children. Resolve the conflict. These are all wonderful things that we women have. But again, they've been perverted to, you know, manipulate people in a very damaging way, to put it lightly.
No, that's their weapon. That's their mode. And men need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Your wife is not your best friend. She's your adversary. Now, not really. I mean, you become one flesh, but look, it is adversarial. You have to treat it on some level like that. Yes, she's your partner. Yes, you spend a lot of time together. You know everything about each other. You get along. There's things you love. All of that is true. Yes, you're in love, and there's things you love about her, and you're on a journey together, and so on. But we're all human, and we never stop having those intrusive thoughts, do we? Men, women, we never stop having intrusive thoughts. We never stop being who we are. None of us are pure. None of us are innocent. I hate to tell you that, but that's just true. Okay, there's one pure, innocent human being, or two, Mary and Jesus Christ. We're not them, okay? We're sinners. And particularly in this time, we're like sinners on steroids. That's why we have sacramentals, okay? That's why we have things like the First Fridays. That's why we have things like, all these indulgences or opportunities to get them, because we are in a fallen time, okay? And if you think you're going to go through that naively and survive, it's not going to go well for you. You got to get smart. Yeah. So, what was the question? Anyway, so that's just, that's the reality.
What was the question? Oh yeah, he's got talent. But notice at the end, he's talking about the sacraments, the Catholic sacraments. And yet he's the guy saying, don't get government married. Because when was that ever a thing? You don't need to do that. He makes really good points. I am not going to be the one to sit here and say, you should get married, you should do this, but I understand his point. Like, how are we going to propagate the species? How are we going to continue Christendom, right? So the most responsible thing is to listen to a man about it. And I think he's right as far as how to protect yourself. And so if you're already in the situation of happy wife, happy life, at least you know that you didn't do it. And especially if it didn't start out that way and you just started to try to appease her thinking, oh, we're going to get through this. I'll just appease her a little bit more. It's like feeding the bears. They're never appeased. If you start feeding them, next thing you know, they're in your trash. And next thing you know, they're in your tent or trying to get into your house. So appeasement doesn't work. We don't respect it. And you have to take the risk that telling us no is going to push us away. You have to take that risk because otherwise you end up in a very bad place, a worse place. And it's a giant warning. So I hope you've appreciated this video. I better edit it so YouTube doesn't seriously ding me. But anyways, please continue to protect your peace, feed your souls. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.